Good evening. My name is Christie Max Williams, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the spring season of this, the 24th year of the Arts Café Mystic. Oh, no, thank you. For those of you new to the Arts Café, we are an independent nonprofit, and our mission is to present the nation's most celebrated poets and writers, along with New England's best musicians, in programs that lift your spirits while deepening your minds. And if we have a little fun along the way, so much the better. Youth will be served, and every dog will have his days, said the bard. Though we can never seem to wrangle any dogs to perform for us, this first show of our spring season is always a special one because it annually celebrates young artists. And what better setting for tonight's show than these galleries, festooned as they are with the Mystic Museum of Art's annual Young at Art exhibition. Add to this some very cool music and a chance to hear Lisa Starr read her superb poetry, and we have the makings of a memorable evening for you. So let's get on with it. As part of our Youth Will Be Served program, we're pleased to honor the Student Poets Laureate of Southeastern Connecticut's high schools. The young writers we're honoring tonight have been selected for this recognition by their school's faculty. They've earned the distinction of being their school's best and brightest poets. Now, celebratory honors are a good thing, but we have also factored in some practical provisions for the Student Poets Laureate. First and foremost, this afternoon they participated in a special poetry writing masterclass conducted by tonight's featured poet, Lisa Starr, a rare opportunity for aspiring writers to work with a nationally known poet. Indeed, they could not have selected a better teacher or model. We're also pleased to award each of the student poets the very practical consideration of a $100 Arts Café prize check. So let's meet these special young people. We'd like to introduce each of them to you, give them their honors, then give you a chance to hear them read some of their fine work. So, the Poet Laureate of Stonington High is Halle Anderson. Halle is a senior whose favorite subjects are science and art. She also plays soccer and serves in various offices for her class and student body. She is studying to complete her doctorate in physical therapy and hopes to do research in psychology. Her favorite poets are Olivia Gatwood and Rudy Francisco. She admires Olivia's empowering and topical poems about women, young and old, and reads Rudy Francisco for his unflinchingly honest poems about social issues. Halle reports that writing poetry makes her feel as if each line she writes can find the ability to become colors, scents, objects, choreography, movements, and that is what enchants her the most about writing poetry. Won't you please join me in congratulating Halle Anderson of Stonington High. The Poet Laureate of Ledyard High is Erika de Andrade. She's a senior whose favorite subjects are anything art or science related, but her favorite class of all time is Ceramics 3. She's vice president of the National Art Society and #1 seeded singles player on Ledyard's tennis team. She looks forward to studying biology in college and aspires to a career in the medical field. Among poets, she admires Bo Burnham's book, Egghead, and also likes the novels of George R.R. Martin, Tamora Price, and Ernest Hemingway. She writes poetry to convey emotions, stories, and thoughts through a means other than formal sentences. Plus, she says, it's fun to rhyme. Rhymes and all, won't you please join me in congratulating Erika de Andrade of Ledyard High School. The Poet Laureate of Montville High is Ryan Gallagher. Ryan is a junior whose favorite subjects are gym and English. His passions are drama and tennis. In fact, he aspires to be an actor or maybe an architect. His favorite poet is Walt Whitman. Hear, hear. Ryan reports that he writes poems because it's one of the few ways he feels comfortable using his voice. A remarkable insight if you think about it. Won't you please join me in congratulating the Poet Laureate of Montville High, Ryan Gallagher. How are we doing? The Poet Laureate of Fitch High is Clara Gerrish. Clara is a senior whose favorite subjects are music, art, and English, but she especially loves her creative writing class. She plans to attend Godwin College, but has artsy aspirations beyond that. Her dream job is as a writer or musician. She particularly admires Emily Dickinson's great poem, Morning, which she has sung in several different choral settings. She writes poems to express feelings or memories, or to create pictures she can't paint or draw. Won't you please join me in congratulating Clara Gerrish of Fitch High. The Poet Laureate of Waterford High is Michaela Green. I should add that Michaela is a two-time laureate for Waterford High. Michaela is still just a junior. She's also a member of her school's tennis team and rides horses in a serious way. In fact, she aspires to be an equine veterinarian. She loves many poets, but her favorite poem is Mark Halliday's Quite Frankly. A very cool poem. If you don't know it, you should check it out. She reports that she writes poetry because it allows her to release her feelings into something productive. Won't you please join me in congratulating Michaela Green of Waterford High. Lastly, the Poet Laureate of the Norwich Free Academy is Amy Osella. Amy is a junior whose favorite subjects are English and philosophy. She also plays soccer, is a member of NFA's Italian club, and studies piano. Her favorite poet is Robert M. Drake, and she especially admires his wonderful poem, The Sea and the Sky. Check that out too. She aspires herself to be a writer, a vocation in which she was encouraged by her grandmother, who, sad to say, recently passed away. Amy reports that every time she writes, she feels close to her grandmother, and that she hopes someday to make her grandmother proud of her writing work. Won't you please join me in congratulating Amy Osella of the Norwich Free Academy. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Student Poets Laureate of the region of Southeastern Connecticut's high schools. So you've met the poets. Now let's hear some of their fine work. First, we'd like to hear from Halle Anderson of Stonington High.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'd like to thank the Mystic Arts Center for giving my peers and I this platform to present our poetry, as well as Lisa Starr for being a wonderful mentor today. The first poem that I'm reading is called It Is. It is tilting your head up to catch the sun rays peeking through the trees. It is peanut M&M wrappers and glossed over starbursts. It is the bundle of weeds that you pulled from your lawn and gave to your mother because they look like flowers. It is your second favorite crayon, only because the first choice can draw the sky in which your star will stand. It is the blank space left under your pillowcase after the fairy took the first baby tooth. It is a polarizing trend that your peers either love or they hate based off of the fashion page of 17 magazine. It can taste like sweet syrup that glides over your taste buds like glue. It can taste like coveted poison that you put in your water. The way it shrivels your tongue makes you feel alive. Adorned in infamous armor, a bee can put fear on its name. It is powerful enough to break through your curtains, sunglasses, and bad moods. It is the squeakiest wheel and the happiest child. It is admired for its confidence. It is envied for its bravery. It is the woman that stands before the courtroom and identifies her abuser. It is the resolve found in a man's eyes as he marches for equal rights. It is the older sibling that smiles through her parents' divorce because her baby brother does not want to cry. It is the audacity to be happy in the midst of pain. It is strength and hope and beauty. It is the color yellow. Thank you. So my second poem was written inspired by a Miles Davis song that I heard while I was in the Mystic Disc record shop. So this is called Kind of Blue. Soft weathered hands wash the plate in smooth melodic strokes. Playful giggles pass through the air, a quiet murmur from her tilted lips. In answering submission to the gentle plea, the youthful energy takes a pause, a brief respite from the clatter of sounds. Just enough time for her enduring lungs to draw a full breath. A muted trumpet, the young child's whine, grabs the air, demanding attention over the tempered tones of older siblings. Familiar discourse ensues like the twist and curl of an ear. The drifting voices emerge in tandem. Each player views the rough terrain with the clarity of their bathroom mirror. With practice ease, she fields the questions, complaints, and clamors, never missing a beat. She, like her kitchen table in which every meal gathers itself, holds steady and firm, a sturdy pillar supporting the adorned walls, as the very welcomed chaos leaves a constant stream of mementos. Spilled milk, syrup that missed the plate, crumbs that never made it into the mouth. If her life was given a soundtrack, it would sound a lot like low murmurs of aged banter, floating in chords of C Ionian, or cupboards, creating a soft staccato in the earliest phases of breakfast, or waking bodies shuffling their feet along worn wood floors, drawn out by the late morning sun. Often, the quietest times sound the most musical. Saturday afternoon, silent morning stretch, kitchen dysfunction. Play back the track, listen again.
Thank you, Halle. Gee, what can you say about a kid who invokes Miles Davis? Kind of blue and it is yellow in the same reading. Thank you. Let's hear next from Amy Osella from Norwich Free Academy. Amy?
First, I would like to thank the Mystics Art Café for giving us the opportunity to share our poetry with everyone. And I would like to thank everyone that came tonight to support us. I'll be reading 4 poems today, and my first one is called Poet's Remorse. When people leave me, it is only times past with them that they take. But when you disappeared, you captured my heart's ache. You could have taken memories, but instead you sought my soul. For this I can never forgive you, for it was my words that you stole. My poems are short, so if you think they've ended, they probably have. This next one is called Endings. You called me more beautiful than any sunset, and I was a fool, blind to the fact that you found only endings beautiful. I was never a beginning. I was never a sunrise. I was your most beautiful ending. This one is called I'd Give You the World. Her bones crack as she tries to carry the weight of the world that he gave her. She likes to think that she wouldn't be so broken if he had just given his heart. My last one is called Heaven. And you'll walk up, and they'll give you those wings of yours, but I'm pretty sure you had them before. A bell will ring as an angel earns its wings, and earth will cry, but man will heaven sing. Because you are an angel that fell into my life, and you are an angel, and you've flown away for now, but thank you for the time. More than ever do I wish upon your grace to one last time see that smile upon your face, and more than ever do I wish you by my side to wipe away all these tears I've cried, because you are an angel that fell into my life, and you've flown away for now, but thank you for the time.
Amy Osella of Norwich Free Academy. Thank you, Amy. A beautiful ending? I think not. Well, let's hear next from Clara Gerrish of Fitch High. Clara?
I'd like to thank everyone for being here tonight and to thank the Mystic Arts Cafe for this awesome opportunity to read my poetry. I have 3 poems I'm going to share. This first poem is dedicated to my mother, the little girl and the salamander. Scooped up in loving arms, a mother's arms, spins her daughter around because she is still small enough to be lifted off her feet. Daughter laughs with pure delight. It's summer after a rainstorm, morning air thick with the scent of earth. Mother smiles and says, "Let's go looking for salamanders." Daughter's face lights up in genuine excitement. Before mother knows it, little rain boots that fit just right are running out into the backyard, which to a child may as well be the whole world. Mother follows with a small pink bucket, splashing and laughing through innocent puddles left by generous clouds. Mud splatters the tips of her daughter's sundress. Daughter doesn't mind. She's having fun. Lightly, they tip over the glistening stones and the flower pots, anything that might provide shelter for the shy amphibians. They take turns chasing glimpses through the damp grass until mother catches one and places it in the bucket. She holds it so that daughter can peer over the side and peek at the salamander with all the curiosity her little heart holds. And she does. And mother looks at her the same way. And then they set it free. Both daughter and the salamander dash through the wet grass of the backyard, which to a child may as well be the whole world.
Thank you. My next poem is called Winter is a Woman. The cold woman is walking the streets. She's taking only what she needs, freezing the ground beneath her feet. On the warmth and light she feeds. She came into my home one year and stole something away. Someone who I held close and dear is no longer here today. The cold woman walks at night and sleeps in the rush of the day. In the calm of the dark she takes flight. Under the moon she comes out to play. She paints the town a ghostly hue, a snowy, silent grave. Her white eyes staring back at you to see if you notice all she gave. She breathes the wind that stalks you, the touch that chills you to the bone. The cold woman will isolate you, hold you in her icy palm, and you'll be all alone. My third and final poem is titled People Like Me. I let my mind run wild. My thoughts, they grew unkempt. From the small stream of knowledge I did not drink, for I was distracted by flowers of pink, little bluebells, and the smallest of details, like the spirals of a snail's shell, and the dewdrops sitting atop blades of grass, like tiny crystal balls, like tiny rounded mirrors. And while the other kids looked at a blackboard, my head turned to the window, to the forest, and up towards the sky. I dreamt of the birds and how free they were, of the breeze and how careless it was, of the trees and how sturdy they stood, of the foxes that roamed the woods, of the stars that slept during the day, and of the moon who lit the way on cloudless nights. And I wanted to be like that, like a beacon, with 100-year-old wisdom, and to speak with 20 voices, and see with 1,000,000 eyes. I wanted to be the smallest of details, the veins of a flower petal, the spiraled shell of a garden snail, and the pebbles in the river, the morning dew atop the branches of a mighty birch tree, the mushrooms hiding under damp leaves, and the language ever so softly spoken by the trees. All things that no one would notice, save for people like me.
Clara Gerrish of Fitch High, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Clara. Let's hear next from Erika de Andrade of Ledyard High. Erika?
Okay, thank you to my Ledyard Corner for just giving me that little shout out. Special thanks to Christie Williams. Where are you? I just saw you. There you are. You did such an amazing job of herding us all together, and I know that we were probably a hassle, but thank you so much for this opportunity. Okay, so my first poem is influenced by Albert Einstein's famous quote, "Gravitation cannot be held responsible for people falling in love." Yeah, I'm a romantic, not really. So the title is, "Gravity Will Not Be Held Responsible." You are a question never proposed before, one I do not have an answer to. Put simply, you are everything. Words cannot describe you. You are everything. I love you. Like a flower loves the spring, my darling, don't you know, my eyes will see you lovely. My eyes will see you lonely. Don't you know, my arms will hold you closely. You, my one and only, my darling. No one can explain this, and I think that's beautiful. Okay, my second poem is titled, "The World is Not Beautiful, Therefore It Is." The world is not beautiful, therefore it is. Its imperfections are evident, sometimes prominent. Nonetheless, this world is beautiful. Day in, day out, the noise around you says otherwise. Misfortune, misery, and malice. The crowds in the streets, the sounds, the horrors, on repeat. But I claim once more, this world is beautiful. Terrible, tremendous tragedies do dwell here, and some days the sun seems to surrender to the clouds. But tomorrow comes, and rays of light never seem so radiant. So I maintain once more, this world is beautiful. Again and again, we find ourselves balanced on tight ropes, juggling the taxing parts of ourselves, waiting to fall into space. We do not, for gravity sets us firmly on the ground. The world holds us here and gives itself to us. Not asking for much, the world, with all its imperfections, bears us. So as we struggle with ourselves, the world will wait. Wait for the day we all notice the beauty of this place. For the world is not beautiful, therefore it is. My final poem is called A Father's Duty. Watching the blue sky, you wait here for me, your hand in mine under this tree. You harmonize and close your eyes, and I watch over you in the sunrise. Here lies my heart, made for you. Here by this tree, I wait till the morning dew. Here you rest on dreams, and I fight to bring them true. For here, my darling, I love you. Watching the blue sky, you hold on to me. Do not go away now, your eyes plea. The leaves do fall like men from home, forced to fight a war that is not my own. Here lies my heart, made for you. Here by this tree, I miss this simple view. Here your eyes do rain, and my time to wipe them is overdue. But here, my darling, I loved you. Thank you.
Thank you, Erika. Did you catch that scent? I think that's optimism or idealism. I'm not sure. It's so rare we smell that anymore. Next, let's hear from Michaela Mickey Green of Waterford High.
Hello. I'd like to thank everyone who gave me the opportunity to come back here tonight. I'm reading 3 poems today, and my first poem is titled Faded Promises. It was whispered, barely louder than our breaths on the shared couch, easily overshadowed by the creaks of the house, swallowed by the surroundings, and never to see the light. It was bitter and tasted like a promise, never intended to be kept, rather one to appease the fragility of a heart. But it was sweet, too, like the idea of us, here, on this very couch together, for next summer, and the summer after that. I believed it. I think a part of me never did. Thank you. My second poem is titled Flight. Through the rain, I spied a group of birds of a feather, fighting against the winds. They were tough, hardy things, tossing through the drafts, determined to swallow them. And still, the storm worsened, bearing down on their small wings. I found myself waiting for a calm, a moment of rest. It wasn't quite enough. One lagged behind, dragged down by the drafts and the pressure from above, slowly disappearing beneath the chaos. The rest flew on, flocking together to fairer weather. Thank you. My final poem is titled Grandmother's Approval. When I was younger, I would watch my grandmother sew. Her careful hands, artifacts of their time, made meticulous stitches, perfectly straight, perfectly narrow, perfectly even, receiving a slight nod of approval when things were as they should be. But if a single one dared to be different, it was torn out by hands no longer gentle and kind. A flaw of that sort, a glaring fault in the eyes of my grandmother, detracted from the peace, And if it could not be fixed, it would sit far in the back of the musty closet, never to be seen again. I'm older now, and I've learned to keep my stitches perfectly straight, carefully hiding any perceived flaws from preconceived notions in an appeal to gain her approval. Thank you.
Michaela Green, ladies and gentlemen. Bitter and tasting of promises. Lastly, let's hear from Ryan Gallagher of Montville High.
Hi, I'm Ryan. I'd like to say thank you to everyone who helped out in the coordination of this event. It was awesome. Really, I had a great time. So thank you to everyone who was involved. I'm going to be performing 3 poems for you guys tonight. And the first one is called Same. The natural American television screen is one obscene scene with one routine and flooded with the same dreary commercials telling you what they want you to be. And they mock you and tell you that you're not good enough for it, shattering your dreams like what happens when you floor it, smashing into that TV, leaving broken glass and windshield wipers stuck in your spleen. Not to be disrespectful, but the things that you support are contrary to the ones we do. So you're going to have to leave. These TVs are the reasons why this country is divided. We tried it to educate, but poems like this still randomly shift their perspective while the country continues to wait. And people are always asking about why there's no continuous rhyme scheme throughout this poem, or why I'm always awkward around others. And maybe if the television had done a better job of telling me how to express myself, rather than telling me that the letter of the day is B, then there wouldn't be millions of children who never met their fathers, growing up surrounded by sex and drugs, popping pills and sipping cough syrup back home in Montville because they weren't recognized. Because there are plenty out there who are flawed young individuals who bought into your games and attempted to be what you wanted them to be. Mindless drones with a false sense of individuality, because they all watch the same television program tell them over and over and over again that a period is how to end a sentence. My next poem is Choke. Poets like me have the hardest time because you don't accept what we say unless it rhymes. But I can't really blame you. There are approximately 12 points I'm trying to get across in this one poem. And I try to get those points across, but I can't speak. The level of your ignorance has reached its peak. My level of conformity is at an all-time low. When people say stop, all I do is go. People criticize me when I leave them on open. People tell me to go back when I say I am done coping, and slam is not the only thing I'm good at. And to make a good rhyme, you do not have to be a hood rat. Liberty comes at a very steep price, but not for rich white folks who've always had it nice. And if you try to tell me I will never be a star, I will prove you so wrong and I will go so far. If I can't trust you, can you tell me who to lean on? You are not the monarch, and I am not the peon. But it has been established. It's been this way for eons. But did you ever think that this establishment could be wrong? Please do not choke the people that have fought so hard to keep their neck clean from the guillotine. Please look up. Take your eyes off your screen. Trust me, you are something without your machine. Listen to this little teen who thinks he could tell me what to be. Exactly. I'm not here to tell you who to be. I'm here to tell you you don't have to be what they are telling you to be. My third and final poem is called Box. I talk to myself, but nobody ever listens. I have so many choices, but I can never make decisions. And these veins in my neck can't speak, but they carry a message. Every single time I break out in rhyme, you can't stop me till I've spat every word you can spit. I'll never let up, and I never will quit. And if you think for 1 second that these veins in my neck don't symbolize every ounce of passion I put into poetry, you're wrong. I'm sure that right now I'm pretty close to vomiting, depending on what I ate before. But if you have something to say, I dare you to say it louder than me. I dare you to say it more passionately. I hope you can see I'm not asking you for forgiveness. I'm asking you to stop trying to force me into a box that I was lucky enough to break out of already. I'll let you know it was pretty crowded. The label says fragile, but the people in that box are already broken. And that's why we need this. The only reason why I got out of there was because I found something I love. I'm sorry if this makes you uncomfortable, but I'm in love with my words. I can't go a day without at least thinking of something I'd like to write down. My biggest problem is I'm hesitant to actually do it. It's been a year since I wrote a poem. I knew that I would stop. I have too many outlets, too many different ways to break out of that box, and I realize now, maybe I put myself in it. Maybe I broke some of the people in there, and maybe I broke some of them out. So, if writing what I feel about the world and the things in it might give someone at least a minute to not be in that dreaded box, then I have to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Woo-hoo. The Poets Laureate of the High Schools of Southeastern Connecticut, ladies and gentlemen. Whew, that was something. Before we move into the musical segment of our show, I want to take a moment to recognize and thank the teachers who have played a key role in the artistic lives of these young poets by nurturing their talent and organizing their selection as Poets Laureate of their schools. Behind every good artist is an inspiring and dedicated teacher. Let me recognize them by name. From Fitch High, Jerry DeSantis and Dan Giovinazzo. From Stonington High, Mary Lou Brockett Devine. From Ledyard High, Amanda Fagan. From Montville High, Wendy Halsey. From the Norwich Free Academy, Pamela Gagnon. And from Waterford High, Tony Tessier. Thank you. If we had time, I would also introduce the parents of our Poets Laureate. Hell, if we had time, I would introduce everyone here. But seriously, if you are the parents of these fine and interesting kids, you have much to be proud of, and you too are to be congratulated. So, thank you. We're very excited about tonight's music, which will be served up by the young singer-songwriter Noah Feldman. They will applaud your tuning up, I'm sure, too. Noah is a local boy who got his degree in music at Western Connecticut with an emphasis on music production and, get this, classical voice. He has been writing and performing for over a decade and is accomplished multi-instrumentalist, playing guitar, bass, keyboards, percussion, and a number of other stringed instruments, while developing a unique vocal style that leans heavily on old-school soul. He's fronted several well-known bands in the region, including No Mind, and recently produced and performed the debut album of New London's Fleet. This summer, he looks forward to producing his own debut solo album, which should feature some of the tunes he'll perform tonight. Won't you join me in giving a warm welcome to Noah Feldman?
Dying on the vine, won't you come and read my mind? I've been waiting all this time, dying on the vine. Boy goes by with a grin on, you know they're gonna treat him wrong. Keep his dreams in a paper box, and tell him you can't see him now, 'cause you're on the clock. Dying on the vine, won't you come and read my mind? I've been waiting all this time, dying on the vine. He'll meet a girl, try to settle down, think she's the one to help him turn it around. They work together and they take the nights, but he can't seem to sleep when he hits the lights. Dying on the vine, won't you come and read my mind? I've been waiting all this time, dying on the vine. We all have a chance to be vibrant, bright, and plain to see, but they'll work you to the bone and leave you fighting for your soul. Boy goes down to the graveyard, went to see his father, give him his regards. Don't know why he couldn't seem to see, that's where he'll be if he don't get free. Dying on the vine, won't you come and read my mind? I've been waiting all this time, dying on the vine. Dying on the vine, won't you come and read my mind? I've been waiting all this time, dying on the vine. Thank you. It's actually the most recent thing that I've written, and everything I play tonight and sing tonight will be on the record that I'm putting out in July. That's going to be called Shelter from the Storm. It's going to come out July 5th, and it's the first time I've put out my own music, so that's exciting and terrifying, I guess. dark outside. We've got all the light we need. You little light of mine, you're gonna shine out over all I see. This night will end, and then, my friend, I look to you and say I love you. When you're by my side, I know that you're the one I need. When I start to slide, I know you'll pull me back to here. This night will end, and then, my friend, I look to you and say I love you. I woke up yesterday, didn't know just quite what to say. Now I look to you and I said, I know we're gonna make it through. This night will end, and then, my friend, I'll look to you and say I love you. I love you. I love you. Thank you. Here we go. This is something a little different. Running down from the corner bar, moving fast but never too far away from the things you know you are. Things you did and the things you saw. Spoke a name in a darkened room. Light you saw there in the gloom, and the life you'd built had just been ruined. Now you're running from the truth, so just run. Run away from the life you lived, all the things you gave, so just run. Run, don't stay. See what's left of what you've thrown away. The highway lights come through the glass. Pedal down, man, gotta move fast. See her then, lying there, and you see her face in the glare. Police car, can't stop running, coming now. Gotta keep running from a world you lost. People you knew, you threw it away when you lost your cool. So just run, run away from the life you lived, all the things you'd give. So just run, run, don't stay. See what's left of what you've thrown away. What you did or what you'd give, you never thought you'd see it come to this. Now you're out, you're on your own, far away from the things you've known. You never meant for this to be the way you lose your history. So run, run away from the life you live, all the things you'd give to just run. Run, don't stay to see what's left of what you throw away. Run away, what you give or what you did, just run. Run, don't stay to see what's left of what you thrown away. Thank you. All right. This is next one is a tune that I don't get to play a lot. It doesn't go over well at bars, but I think it'll be just right here. And thank you to Arts Cafe Mystic and to Christie, and thank you to all of you for being here. Sad and sweet, drifting in, music from the other side. Where I am, I can hear only how he starts to cry. Do you think that I might, for once in my life, be a man and not a child? I didn't think so, never mind. I'll just pretend to do it right. Do it right. I hear the sound from his guitar, lilting in from where he is. Familiar sounds of his heart breaking, but never quite like this. Looking out his open window, eyes drift off into the night. An empty sky before the morning, never bringing new day's light. New day's light. And I know there's a way out, but how can I go if I can't move now? A familiar feeling comes over me, the way I'm made to feel this melancholy. This melancholy. Nostalgia fills his empty bedroom, suffocating in the mess, looking for an answer in it, a reason that he might have missed. I'm tired of this endless circle going round inside my head. Is there a way for me to feel more than just this sense of dread? Sense of dread. And I know there's a way out, but how can I go if I can't move now? A familiar feeling comes over me, the way I'm made to feel this melancholy. Thank you so much. I have one more song for you. I think I played this when I did this event 6 years ago. I think it's the only tune that I'd be playing at both. This is called Umbrella. You're with him now, are you, honey? Can I give you everything you want? I know he has all the looks and the money, but can he give you all that you want? Grab your umbrella, baby, 'cause it's raining hard like you never see. I know that maybe, just maybe, that rainstorm will wash us clean. Past couple of weeks, man, things been crazy. Saw you with him just yesterday. And I thought that maybe, just maybe, when I saw you, you might look my way. Grab your umbrellas, baby, 'cause it's raining hard like you never see. I know that maybe, just maybe, that rainstorm will wash us clean. Can't you see that it was so much better when it was just you and me? Can't you see it could be so much better? Can't you see, girl, can't you see? Grab your umbrella, baby, 'cause it's raining hard like you never see. I know that maybe, just maybe, that rainstorm will wash us clean. Grab your umbrella, baby, 'cause it's raining hard like you never seen. I know that maybe, just maybe, this rainstorm is gonna wash us clean. Thank you.
Our featured poet tonight is Lisa Starr, who is frankly one of my favorite poets. She's already blushing. Tonight is a bit of a homecoming for Ms. Starr, who spent many of her formative years in southeastern Connecticut and in fact is a graduate of Ledyard High. Following college, Ms. Starr emigrated to Block Island. I think you need a passport to get there, don't you? Where in addition to raising a family, she launched dual careers as an innkeeper and poet. Along the way, she published 3 highly regarded books of poems, including Mad with Yellow, which is a magnificent document of big-hearted wisdom. She was twice appointed State Poet Laureate of Rhode Island and is now Poet Laureate Emerita of the Ocean State. She's also been honored with 2 Rhode Island Fellowships for Poetry and has twice won the Nancy Potter Prize for Fiction. Mover and shaker that she is, Ms. Starr also founded and for many years directed the Block Island Poetry Project, which was an important conference that gathered poets, musicians, writers from across the country. The Block Island Poetry Project concluded with her publication of a wonderful anthology called Where Beach Meets Ocean, that featured poems by Billy Collins, Mary Oliver, Coleman Barks, and other famous poets who participated in the Block Island Poetry Project. Ms. Starr now lives close by in Westerly, where she heads up a monthly poetry gathering and is readying a new book of her poems to be called Potluck. In introducing Lisa Starr, I'm mindful of the great William Blake's famous pronouncement from his Proverbs of Hell, in which he says, "Exuberance is beauty." My friends, you are about to meet with some very beautiful exuberance. Won't you please join me in welcoming Lisa Starr?
What did Mark Twain say about like the announcement of his death? You know, the announcement of my poetry reading has far preceded my poetry reading. But let's see what we can do. I always kind of feel it out, you know, in general. And if I'm not doing that, then the poems don't come. So all day long, I kind of waited to see which way I would arrive and greet, you know, and my thought earlier was that it would be to honor the students, and then it would be to honor the Ledger tribe. I guess we all come together in a place where we're first bound by love. So Noah, where are you, kiddo? I last performed here in 2013, but I was also here with your students in 2012, which is when Noah and I last performed together. And Noah's father, Jay, was with us in the room that night. And Noah's father, Jay, was a huge fan and supporter of his son's beauty and soul. And I quickly got him on the road. They did that big gig at the Harbor Baptist Church on Block Island. You rocked it, man. And shortly after that, Noah lost his dad. And the fact, Noah, that you're writing these songs and performing your songs is evidence of all we need to know about God and the soul and where people go. This is my opinion, but I think you share it in your heart. So to hear you singing those songs and to hear the echo of your father and his pride in you is where I'd like to start. So I'll start with a poem about my parents. It's called Poem for My Parents. If I could just once get the chance to be the little girl I never got the chance to be. If I could say Daddy just once to my father and know he could hear me, I would say to him this: Daddy, please come for her now. Take her before she bruises another rib, soils another pair of pants, suffers one more muffled snicker at the store. If you really are that cardinal singing to me from that branch while I write this poem, then fly to her now. She'll be sitting near the window. Some days, that's all that's left. Sweep her off then, in a flash of crimson, with one last astonished gasp at this world's beauty. Daddy, please, come for her now. Isn't that a happy way to start? All right. There's another poem I wanted to read about my parents, and I can't find it because I've changed this up so much. Here it is. This is a different kind of a poem. My brother showed up tonight, and I won't point him out. I've done that to him enough already. My sister did not. She went to Naples, Florida, and she's still there. And so since she's there and not here, here's a poem that she shows up in, and my brother does not. But again, it is about the ties that bind us, that we know all about, and sometimes we don't even realize it until we're walking through our paces. These aren't even things you can think about. It's just the way it is with love and generations and what gets passed on, even if it sometimes takes 30 years to hear your father's laugh again or something like that. Here's a poem called Contract. My old dog is anxious again, all night shifting, resettling, pawing the rug in his sleeplessness. And it appears that somewhere in our contract, I have agreed to be restless too. In their beds through the narrow bathroom, my children stir, reminding me that they are in this with me, and the way I love them stings like hunger can, or sunburn. The dog is halfway up, then down again, the old hip groping to find its place. And somehow I'm reminded of my father counting. 3 different times I heard him through the wall before I asked my mother. She didn't like to talk much, still doesn't. Yes, she said, stalwart and weary all at once, for months now. Not every night, but most. Even at 14, I knew the implications, stares perhaps, or days. We never talked about it after that, except for one time carrying groceries in from the car. Sometimes, she said, he counts backwards. And she looked at me surprised, the way a friend would. And we unpacked the bags in a silence that for once wasn't half bad. My sister once confessed to me that she used to hate our mother sometimes because she wasn't kind enough to our father, maybe didn't even love him. But I knew differently. My old dog struggling at the foot of the bed, my father counting through his final nights, my children murmuring in their room. We will toss our way through this night and the next, and when it's time, we'll stumble into morning once again. Christy, could I get some water, please? So serious, she's so serious, she's so serious up here. We heard from these amazing poets, musicians, these kids, whether they found the right teachers or the right parents, or neither, they found their voices, and it doesn't always go that way. My sense is that you did find the right parents and the right teachers and the right friends. We talked about that a little bit. I'm like, how many of you can really read your poems to your friends? Or do they go like, nah, we'll talk after gym, you know? But it doesn't always go that way, right? You can be an exuberant, wild child with a lot to say, and maybe most people in your life that don't want to hear it. I gotta figure out who painted that, Jerry Garcia. All right. Here's a poem, it's called CVS. It was written at one of the 3 CVS's in Wakefield. Aren't there about 8 in every town now? I mean, I don't know what we did before CVS. I don't know where we went for things. Here's a poem called CVS. In the vast brightness of this pharmacy, everything seems like more of itself. The Halloween masks, the pantyhose, most of all, the loneliness of a 12-year-old girl trying to be recognized by her mother. "Can I get this?" she asks, though it takes all her nerve. "Didn't I just get you one?" her mother asks from a place so far away she hardly notices that the item in question is a notebook. "Yeah, but I filled it in like 3 days," the girl replies. Her mother doesn't answer, which apparently means yes, and the girl looks happy, or at least less sad, for a moment. Standing in line behind them, I want to ask her, I want anyone to ask her, what she wrote to fill all those pages in just 3 days. So look out for the young people in your world. That was probably my friend Coleman Barks calling. He doesn't pay attention to time. If you're familiar with the Rumi poet, he's my best friend, and his timing is terrible, and the only reason my phone is up here is so that I don't read for 2 hours. Because I could, I swear I could. So Potluck, Christie mentioned, the new book is a poem that I hope will tell the story of childhood from start to finish through poems. And my kids, unfortunately, are my muses. They're old enough now, at 20 and 21, that they actually like it. Like, they'll read poems and say, "Did I really do that? That is so cute." But for many years it was like, "Oh my God, you're gonna write about that? I'm a 9-year-old boy throwing stones in the ocean. This is what we do, Mom. This isn't poetry." But they're coming along. So Potluck is one of the first poems that I've written about them forever, but I realized putting together this collection of kids' poems that so many of them are just conversations. So I don't really know if it's poetry or not. I know that it makes my heart sing, and so maybe that's all that poetry is. So this is the first of the series of poems. It's called Potluck. His voice, quiet now, is how I know to listen. These hushed conversations are always lovely. And he is telling her about this thing, this open house, which is funny enough because, after all, it's at a school, not a house. Anyway, he is saying, real no nonsense, you'll get to see my chalkboard and probably, maybe, even Sally the snake. And she is nodding, eyes wider than wide, just thinking of it all. And then he is telling her real quiet now about the dinner, and he says, "You know, they call it potluck." And you can tell he loves the way it sounds, though he is all business. "It's called potluck," he says again. This phrase, it bears repeating, but I think it's just a dinner party. And she is almost 4 and he is just 5, and I race back into the kitchen just in time to see her eyes come alive, shoot up to the rack on the wall where we hang our pots and pans, and then she says, "Yeah," as if she understands. Then she nods, satisfied, and she tries it out herself. Her eyes are bright brown, they are dancing, and oh, you can tell she loves the way it feels just to say it. "Yeah," she says again, all nodding. "Potluck," she whispers, electric, still staring at the rack, and she is smiling, and I am smiling, and we are basking in the joy of it. The joy of all these pots. The joy of so much luck. To my ledgered friends in the corner, and to, that'd be Christine, and to anybody, we all suffer loss at an early age. It could be a butterfly, Could be a bike that got flattened in the driveway. It could be a parent or a grandparent or a neighbor. In our young lives, it was Deanna Rowley. And so Deanna was our cheerleader, our beauty queen, somebody whose exuberance for life was almost too pure for this world. And I believe, I was thinking about it today, I think she died just shy of her 21st birthday, if I'm not mistaken. So there we all were in Gales Ferry at a wake, you know, the bunch of us. And this is a poem I wrote that night. It's called In the Funeral Home for Deanna Rowley. There was a Band-Aid wrapper on the floor in the hall of the funeral home, and I liked it. I couldn't get past it. I even stopped and stared at the damn thing. I think there were a couple things about it. I mean, it was right there and you could touch it. And for another thing, no one else would pick it up. I guess that means they liked it too. And for a third thing, I guess it sort of calmed us all that somewhere in that horrible room, filled with a sadness we'd never known before, one of us was healing a wound. Oh, gosh. Whew. Heavy, heavy. Christie, I read my thing that you put on the Mystic Arts Cafe website. You said something about my divorce, about the way a wrecked marriage, a something marriage. It was so honest that I felt like maybe you should, after a wrecked marriage, it was something like that. I was like, oh, come on. I'm trying to get over it, Christie. But since you brought it up, here's a divorce poem. It's called Hobbled. Years from now, I wonder if I'll be able to appreciate the irony of any of it. Like how just when you had almost begun to accept my leaving, I ruptured my Achilles playing tennis with you, which was one of the few ways we knew for managing time and summer and Saturdays, given this fact of my leaving. Years from now, when I think of how ready I was to go, to walk, run, fly, even swim if I had to, away from the weariness of what our love had become. I hope I will remember how when the time came, the only way to leave was slowly, and the only way to move was to hobble, one wavering, broken, brave, new footstep at a time. All right, ready to lighten it up? All right. Let's lighten it up. I have these amazing poems I think about my children, you know, where we're all feeling spirit and God, and they're understanding why I write these poems about them. But I'm not always that kind of a mom. Let's see if I have this. I sure hope so. Bear with me. Yeah, here we go. This will change it up for all you grievers who just want to hear my sad poems. Mama Bear post-game. It's a big warning in there. Mama Bear post-game. Very serious poem. I am so upset that they lost by 1. So disappointed for their disappointment, never mind that it all came down to a few really bad calls and some epically terrible officiating, that I rush her without realizing it as she approaches the locker room. What are you doing, she asks. We lost, that's all, we just lost. And you want to know what's even better? Now I have to go to the last 15 minutes of history. And she storms into the locker room, and unable to prevent myself, I do too. Her teammates are in various stages of changing and looking for phone chargers and notebooks, and I need Millie to know, I need all of them to know that they did not lose, that the game was stolen from them. Millie, hurting because she fell so many times and angry at herself for the missed foul shots and angry at me because I am ridiculous, says in her team captain's voice, "We lost because we didn't rebound." And I say, "No, you're wrong." And I say to all their sweaty, gorgeous, racing to history and English and chemistry faces, "Make no mistake, girls. You lost because that pathetic ref with the awful toupee had a very unhappy childhood, and now he is trying to take away yours." Millie's head pops through her sweater, and one eye raises through her anger into curiosity. "Mom," she says, "I just have to ask if you think this is helping in any way. Do you think you are making anyone feel better? And by the way, what are you doing in our locker room? Are you the new team mother now?" And though she doesn't slam her locker door, she closes it derisively, grabs her backpack, and heads off to class with the others. Left alone, I tidy things up like those bathroom attendants I adore in the Charlotte airport, and help myself to a leftover orange wedge and answer my know-it-all daughter's question. "Yes," I say to her, though she is already sitting at her desk upstairs, "I do think it's helping. I'm actually feeling much better now." And I take another orange wedge and dump the rest and rinse the plate. Then I get in the truck, drive home, and write this. Okay, here's another tough one, sorry. But I did want to bring Coleman into the room. I lived on Block Island for 30 years, which is why I look like I'm about 400 years old. Mark and Katie, you defy it all. So some Block Island friends here, but no, Block Island was a wonderful place to live for a long time for me, and I miss it greatly. I guess what I'm trying to say is that this poem is about we have a deer population on Block Island that's problematic. I know many of you in rural areas, like I'm working in a restaurant now in Westerly, and one gal drives home to Ledyard, and there are deer. And on Block Island, it's problematic. So there's a huge Lyme disease issue, and there's also the gardeners are always angry. I wasn't a good gardener, and they don't eat iris, thank God. But you hit them. Even if you're driving very slowly, you can hit them. And if you're not one of the little fields, that can be really distressing. This is, bear with me. I'm sorry. I lost all my page notes. So this is a poem called This and That. And it's written for my friend Coleman Barks, who was here with me the last 2 times that I was here. Coleman is the great man in many ways, but most people know him through his translations of the Middle Eastern poet Jalaluddin Rumi. So this is a poem that was written for Coleman. It's called This and That. A while back you said, you know, one of these days you're going to have to write that poem about that deer. And I agreed, even though there is nothing poetic about that night, nor about the way she tried to clear the stone wall in the stunned moments after I'd hit her, or she'd hit me, or however these calamitous intersections come together. Nothing poetic about the way she tried so desperately to scale the wall in those time-funny moments before both she and I realized she was broken. She gave it 4 determined tries before resigning herself to the final taming. And like the dog does sometimes with one paw on the couch as if to say, I'd like to be up, she raised one perfect hoof to the lichen-covered stones and then just looked at them sadly. "Oh, sweetheart," I said, trying to ease her into a resting spot with me in the wet grass. "Oh, sweetheart," I said over and over again. Oh, how the spasms rippled down her long, strong side, relentless. Oh, how her body shuddered as the gorgeous living left it. Oh, how I held her weeping, and how she forgave me, and how all the silent eyes of the night birds and night animals forgave me too. It's been 9 months since then, and I can't find the notebook with the specifics, like the particularity of the thwack on the windshield or the slow rolling thud down the hood of the car. So I understand, I know, I've got to get to it and get it right, and especially not forget her nostrils, flaring breathlessly in the familiar grass when everything else at last had mercifully stopped moving, nor the heartbreaking look of puzzlement as she lost her recognition of even that. And then, last night at dinner, across the table, your eyes and your face suddenly wet with tears. What is it? I asked. I don't think I'm ready to die yet, you said. I mean, ever. And you looked up and around at a room filled with people we didn't know, dining in a place we'd never been before, and it was difficult to swallow then, and it was hard to speak. And I knew right then that I was ready to write this poem about that deer. Okay. We'll bring it up again. This is another one of the poems in the kids' book. Again, these are just, I mean, it's not fair. They're just conversations with my kids, which is what they tell me. Like, this isn't even a poem, Mom. This is a conversation you're having with us. And while they're saying it, I'm writing it down. So here's another one, pretty recent. Well, they're old now. They're 21 and 20. This is 3 years ago. It's called Just Saying. Remember that, the title's important. Told you guys all day today, the title's important. The title of this poem is Just Saying. Even though I'm their mother, and even though I made them dinner and will later wash their dishes, and even though I am in the same room with them, they make fun of me freely. He looks up from their conversation, notices me scribbling. Oh, he says, in the voice he uses to imitate me, my most precious loves are having a conversation, and they have grown up and will be leaving soon. I laugh and continue writing. I keep writing, he goes on, because this is all too beautiful to take. I interject and tell them that I'm actually just making a shopping list. That placates them some, and they go on talking about their friends, the online chat rooms for the colleges they will be attending, and whether to go random in the roommate search or fill out the surveys and try to land a good one. She notices that I am writing urgently now, and so resumes his narration. Soon I'll be crying again because I am so happy. And he interrupts and says, no, Millie, she says weeping. And Millie says, good point. Soon I'll be weeping again and writing this. And I write it all down because sometimes it's the only thing that will do. Long pause. And that would be the ending, really. Except that hours later, still in that great gladness, I read it to her. And though she laughs at the funny parts, when I finish, she says, I knew that was coming. That's how they all end. I say not all of my poems, and she says, I mean all of these poems, meaning these poems about her. Then she adds, if they even are poems. I tell her that I think they are poems and assure her that they are each a little different, which is why they all have a different title. And she says, well, it's too bad for them that they all have the same ending. Just saying. So that's how we got through that one. All right, some newer poems and we'll wrap it up. I had the good fortune of having a a couple poems published in this journal, Parabola. Here's one of them. It's called What It Takes. It was written, you guys, on Block Island. Right down from where Champ lives is the dock that I love so much. And one summer, there's amazing blue rowboat there. I was coming out of a spell of thinking I might never write anything again. I'm in one of those spells right now. But when it comes back, it comes back. I don't know what comes first. My sense of having a purpose or the language that comes with it. But here's a poem that comes out of one of those moments. What it takes. All it takes is one blue rowboat tied to a buoy and its reflection and this moment for me to go remembering everything. Then a murmur, the sound of water lapping, the breeze snapping, and the way the leaves resist the letting go or don't. The wheels of a bicycle soaring downhill with some gravity-glad rider. All of it, complicit. What I'm talking about is the sheer shimmering faith of the rope that connects the boat to the buoy, and the hands that tied the knot, and the fathers who teach their sons and daughters these simple things I see all day and sometimes not at all. Moments like this become miracle, oracle, and I know in my deepest heart of hearts that the whole world, this one, is just my own face in the mirror. And I know that I am the boat and the buoy and the rope. And like faith, that holy smoke, I am brilliant and bobbing and blue. This is called Family. Later, after I found a suitable spot for the baby goldfinch with the puncture in its chest from my cat's claw, and folding it in a hedge of white lilac which blossomed 3 weeks late, perhaps just to lend some grace to this moment, I'm still thinking about the size of its mortal wound. Barely noticeable, the size of a hangnail or a tick, which gets me wondering about the size of the tick that killed brother, the dog that the cat and I are still grieving and learning to live without. And I walk to the hedge and I retrieve the bird, and clutching it against the place where it feels like my heart is, I walk to brother's grave and lay it down there on top of him. And then I sit down next to it. I'm not sure how long the cat has been sitting there on the other side of me before I notice her. I only know that in that moment, we were a family. The dead dog, the dead bird, the wild little cat, and me. Here's a, we'll change it up again. Here's a poem where the bird not only gets to live, but you'll see. It's called Ravished. I learned all I need to know about sex just now this morning on a rainy June day, working on my computer and looking out the window where for weeks now the birds have been doing their mid-air mating dance. Nothing vulgar about it. A bit of urgent flapping, a chirping, chattering commotion as they come together breast to chest, lots of open mouth beaking, which I'd never noticed before, reminding me that even now, 50 years into witnessing this rite of spring and thumbing through bird books, I'm still not sure how they do it. You know, copulate, consummate, procreate, whatever you call it, it just happened. I glanced up and she looked both ravished and ravishing there on the peak of the birdhouse, every feather and underfeather puffed out like an enormous garish fur coat, like Charo, except that the bird seemed shy about it, seemed surprised as anyone, the little lucky lady. She was quietly but mightily aflutter, a little wobbly on her feet. I blushed a little when I caught on. You go, girlfriend, I thought. Eventually, she pulled herself together and slowly her feathers deflated, and now she is all business again, flying to and from the birdhouse with sticks and straw, but that tired look is gone from her face, and you can tell she hasn't felt this good in years. All right. What else do we have? Okay, a few more. I am really, really blessed by the elders in my life. Coleman, as I mentioned, and through my great friendship with Coleman, I've come to know Mary Oliver quite intimately. So here's first a poem about Mary and then a poem about Mary and Coleman. This one's called Remission. It was written a couple years ago. Mary is not in remission anymore, so the more you can hold her in your hearts and your prayers, the better these days. My brother disagrees with me on this, but you know what I love about football is like when the guys get down on their knees and pray, you know? That's just horrifying to him, but I do believe in prayer, so whatever light and comfort you can send to Mary would be great right now. This poem's called Remission. Listen, this is not bragging, not name dropping. This is prayer. I once got to bathe Mary Oliver. Imagine the grace she brought to that. I held her arm while she lowered her body into the water. She bowed her bald head so I could wash her neck. That feels good, she said. Truth be told, it was the washcloth that stunned me. What confidence it had. You might say I was in awe of it. Mary's hair is growing back now so sweetly. Not quite gossamer, but like it, if you know what I mean. This poem's about Mary and Coleman. It's got an epigram, which we talked about a lot today, and this is from A.A. Milne. Is it Milne or Milne? How do you pronounce it? Milne. So the epigram is, "We'll be friends forever, won't we, Pooh?" asked Piglet. Longer than that, Pooh answered. Bear with me while I try to describe the sight of Mary's arm tucked into Coleman's. The two of them taking such small and concentrated steps due to the fragility and the neuropathy, or is it just the grace of God? Her arm in his, their slow and steady footsteps to the car from the restaurant, his low murmur, her unbridled laugh. Easy now. The three of us walked behind them. My daughter said, they're adorable. My friend said, I can't take it. I said, Pooh and Piglet. And so they seemed, big old gentle bear, tiny fierce friend bundled in pink beside him, bolstered by each other for whatever wind blows next. The three of us watched as they inched toward the car, Mary's head resting lightly against his arm, holding hers. We watched love take careful steps, one at a time, and we followed. Way, way, way longer than forever. Easy now. I'm winding down, guys. We okay? So I moved off of Block Island after 30 years, and building a life and running a business and restoring a beautiful building and running a writing series and raising 2 kids and doing, and it was time to go for a long time. And I thought I was really ready to go, and I was really ready to go, but the wake of the leave-taking is still with me. So it's been a very strange couple of years that I thought would be about buoyancy and light and freedom. And without all those things that mattered so much, I've been a little bit lost and adrift. I wrote this poem as I was leaving, and I don't often rhyme in my poems, but I think I needed the rhyme in this one to carry me through it. It echoes a poem, a great poem by E.E. Cummings called Maggie and Millie and Molly and May. You familiar with that? Wonderful poem about 4 little girls who go to the beach. And Cummings' poem, E.E. Cummings, is a stealthy one. He seems to be so light, and he's not so much. So through the rhyme, he gets away with lots of things that are heartbreaking. So in this poem about 4 little girls who have these totally different experiences on the beach, he says something like, and May discovered a smooth round stone as small as a world and as large as a lone. You know, one girl's chasing butterflies, and one girl at 5 or 6 already knows the depth of what it feels like to be alone. So this poem's called Orrin and Millie and Brother and Me, with a big nod to E.E. Cummings. Orrin and Millie and Brother and me, we lived for a time in a home by the sea that was yellow and stately and noble and fair on a place called Block Island. Have you ever been there? They learned to tell time by the tide, not the hour, and they learned from the ocean its force and its power. From a place that is holy and light years away, Brother borrowed a dog suit and joined us one day. And for 8 perfect years, how he loved us like grace, with his fierce, faithful heart and his sweet golden face. We made castles with sand and driftwood and love, while seagulls and ospreys soared gladly above. We daydreamed and watched the clouds drift through the sky, while sandpipers danced in the surf right nearby. Orrin was steady and cautious and mild, while Millie was busy and urgent and wild. The girl ran on chaos, the boy he loved order. He kept his things tidy while she was a hoarder. While she dressed in costumes, he tucked in his shirt. He liked white bread, no crust, while she thrived on dessert. And while they were babies, then toddlers, then teens, the 2 of them gave me their lovely extremes. Orrin was born with a gift for the sea and could sail a boat solo by the time he was 3. And Millie's great gift is her generous heart, the depth of it shining so bright from the start. And I discovered a sand dollar tree that left its small fruit on the tide line for me. Each time that I found one, I made a small wish, then carried it home to the sand dollar dish. Some wishes were simple and some quite profound, and my life, it grew rich with each sand dollar I found. And oh, how we loved this life near water and frolicked, me, my dog, son, and daughter. But the tides rise and fall, and the world spins too fast, and not even the finest of childhoods can last. You all know the story. You've heard it before. How time races past while we dream by the shore. High school, driving, the fine jewels of knowledge in the blink of an eye, and they're both off to college. So first brother left, then my girl and my boy, and with them the wellspring of much of my joy. I told them, and meant it, the world waits for you. And that's when I realized it waits for me too. Sometimes we must lose things in order to grow, like a house on a hill with its fine yellow glow. Sand castle, sandpiper, sand dollar, me. I'll miss you forever. Yellow house by the sea. I got one more. And because, you know, March sucks. I was writing to my group yesterday and decided we were going to call March Stormy Daniels. It gives it a little more fun. Let's just say Stormy Daniels. Another 10 days of Stormy Daniels. Let's hope she never goes away, for God's sake. But in honor of March, I'll share with you a poem about April. This is a poem called Prayer in April. It's pretty self-explanatory. What I will say is I do think if the poem doesn't say it itself, I think it was the first moment my children experienced spirit, whatever spirit might be, but that sense of the fact that there's something bigger at play in our lives, and we're touched by it, even on the bad days, man. Just to be here is risky business. Prayer in April. Just this morning, right as we clambered off to school, in the driveway, the bird, that startled baby bird, he was so frightened he'd lost his voice. His little feathered head became more yellow with his quivering. We three took turns holding him. The complicity of our awe is what strikes me now, and I hope I'll always remember it. How we dropped to our knees, how we took turns cradling him, how for a moment, when he flew, we lost our voices too. Thank you so much for listening to me. Where's Noah? Stand up. Noah, stand up. You guys, everybody, you sit. Christie, thanks a lot.
Lisa Starr, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Lisa. Thanks, Noah. Thanks to the Poets Laureate. For those of you who would like to take a little of Lisa Starr home with you tonight, we have her wonderful book, Mad with Yellow, for sale, and also the wonderful, what is the name of that? Yes, Where Beach Meets. Yes, thank you. Whatever. The Arts Cafe will return in April. Come see us. Thanks so much. Good night.